Um, First of all, do you know what the hardest part of stepping up on a stage like this after a brilliant speaker like Mary Lee is? All the ideas that she, put in your head. I have a presentation to, do here. I hardly know the next slide. But this is a journey. We're going to take us through that together. The reason why I'm here today is to talk about personas and content marketing and why it's important, and try to show that it's not as hard as so many people seems to believe it is. Did you know that on a site like Tumblr, there is 471.6 million active blogs on Tumblr? Okay? On the WordPress platform, per month, there's 78 million blog posts published. Okay? There's a lot of noise out there. Nothing new, but just showing you that number sort of puts things in perspective. We're not talking about Facebook here. We're not talking about YouTube, who uploads hundreds or even thousands of minutes of film each minute, right? We're not talking LinkedIn. We're not talking about your personal blogs or your company website. My name is Fredrik Holmbo, and I come from the agency Up There Everywhere. I've worked with mostly pharma companies through my career, as you can see. And Matthias, I realized that it's 2 years and 2 days since we first met, when we first started working together.
Another reason to celebrate.
Another reason to celebrate. Yeah, so you can see I work with mostly pharma and life science companies. I'm super curious. I continue to take courses, certificates within inbound marketing, content marketing, email marketing, persona building, so on and so forth. I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to try to translate it. The world is too large for us. Too much is happening. Too many crimes, too much violence, too much ruckus, right? No matter how much you try, you will always be behind. It's a constant agony trying to keep up, and instead you lose your foothold. The science sort of empties their new discoveries over you so fast that you stumble between them in attempts to understand. The political world are made up of consistent, fast news, so fast that you lose your breath to try to keep up with who's in or who's out. Everything of this gives you so much pressure, so much stress. The human being cannot tolerate anything, nothing more. The Atlantic Journal, 16th of June, 1833. That was a while ago, and much has happened since then. So the world is changing, always has, always will, but we know, you being from airlines, the world is getting smaller and smaller, right? We're more connected. Everything is moving faster and faster. And talking about faster, we have something called the Nielsen's law of internet bandwidth. And I've shown this slide many times. I have yet to get one person to answer the question. Do you know what kind of increase percentage-wise per year from 83 to 2018 that kind of line represents? Oh, it's kind of linear, but it is a 50% increase in internet bandwidth. Do you remember 1983? Yeah, 93, 2003. It's many, many years, and it's increasing. 50% per year. So, with that, what does that mean? Well, it means we're collecting or building up a lot of data online. I once read that 90% of all data that is online today was created the last 2 years. And it's not just content, of course. It's what we gather from here. It's what we gather from all different kind of data sources. So zettabytes increased from 2009 to 2025, and we're here. And just to show you what zettabytes is, it's kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes, exabytes, and zettabytes. So it's kind of a lot. And all this change, it's exciting. It really is. But if you look at the girl to the right, it can also be a bit terrifying. All this data, the fast development of the Internet of Things, what we are sort of exposed to all the time when we walk around the city, it is a lot. And we talk about big data, we talk about AI, we talk about biotech, infotech, when they marry together, and you're going to talk about AI later on, which is going to be super interesting. Technology is exponential, so maybe actually I'm wrong, yeah? So, but humans are not exponential. And these are some of the books I've read, just to show you how nerdy I am in this area. What all of these books are saying is that you need to understand who you're talking to. You have the buyer persona book, middle top. That you need to provide value in order to get people's attention. There's even a book called The Attention Economy, because nothing has happened structurally in our brain the last, 30, 40,000 years. So we have a limited attention span, but much, much more that we're exposed to. So provide value when we, want it. Yeah, question?
If you would recommend one book to read, which one is your favorite?
These are actually my favorites. but okay. The first book I read, Permission Marketing, Seth Godin, I think it was released 2008. Still holds because it talks about permission. And I'm going to talk more about that later. But then you have inbound marketing, utility. I absolutely loved utility. But then you have Joe Pulizzi, Content Inc., Epic Content Marketing, Killing Marketing is a fantastic book where he discusses how marketing today is taking from being part of the cost part of your budget to become a profit part of your budget. Super interesting book. Oh my God, very good. Jab, Jab, Right Hook, Gary Vaynerchuk is always a favorite. So, yeah, continue. Oh, my favorites. Okay, let's just say that. My wife is like, do you always read? Do you always listen to audiobooks? I'm like, yeah, I am. All right. So what they are talking about is that no matter what space you're in, if you're business to business, if you're business to consumer, it's all about people to people. You need to understand who you're talking to. And as Marilee was talking about, emotion, the connection, the shared meaning is what creates that. And she was talking about a bit about it, that you need to have a main character, right? So that's where we get to buyer personas. Okay. All of you have heard buyer personas, right? Everybody? Yes? In digital marketing, success depends on being relevant to customers, to your customers, their challenge, and their journey. And the buyer persona, as I will describe it now, is what helps keep things relevant. But not just for them, but also for your own sales process. And what is a buyer persona when we talk digital marketing? Because it's slightly different than... I talk to so many companies and they have buyer personas, but it's buyer personas that comes from some kind of sales segmentation. So it's a group of people, okay? It's not a real buyer persona in the sense of digital marketing. So what is a buyer persona? It's your ideal, desired customer. Semi-fictional representation of where they are in life. It's your data, it's your educated guesses in the beginning, what they are afraid of, pain points, how they act, what motivates them. you try to put as much information into a persona description as possible to make them as human-like as possible, right? And why we do that, and why don't we just use the target markets that we have? Well, it's hard to speak to sales segments. So if we look at 4 very different CFOs, let's say that that is your target segment. Coming from sales, sales has owned this through many decades. You can see that these 4 people are kind of different, right? Different places in life, different interests. I would say that the guy with the glasses, and now I'm stereotyping quite a lot here, I would say he's kind of interested in details. So I worked in sales since I was 17, 23, 24 years ago. If I would sit in front of him, I would talk details, data, significances. If I met the younger girl or the guy, they most likely are different in sort of that aspect. So we all want to be spoken to. We don't want to be spoken at. So how would you speak if you would meet these guys face to face? What would you actually say to them? How would you talk to them? And personas help us create that for real people. So if we think about your company now, this is your company building, an entity that is creating communication that you want to, give to the market, to your target segments. That communication becomes also a sort of entity, right? When you have salespeople like these, they become the vehicle of that communication. So they can sense the feeling in the room. They can understand the people sitting there, and they can adjust the message, the communication, that entity of communication. But what if you have this situation? You have your potential buyer there. He's even looking at the screen there. There's no vehicle. There's nothing. You need to know that you are targeting the right person, the right buyer persona. And you need to know that when that person feels like, oh, wow, this company actually provides some useful stuff, that touch point where he converts on your website, because that is what we want to have, use our website for, conversions, that leads to marketing qualified leads, that leads to sales qualified leads, prospects, buyers. When that happens, you need to understand that you've been given the permission to continue to talk to that person through multiple touch points. And you're rewarded that. That is something he's given you. The attention economy book I was talking about just now, he gives you part of his attention. And that's super, super valuable. And you have a direct communication channel to him through that email address that he gives you, right? That valuable first point of contact, and then staying consistent over multiple touch points is what that buyer persona description provides an opportunity for. So let's say that I visit the Envirotainer website. I really like an article. I sign up for a newsletter, and I'm one kind of person. I'm the geeky guy who loves data. If I then become exposed to, you begin to send me emails that are more targeted to the yellow social kind of, I don't really care about data kind of articles, it's sort of, that's not interesting. It's too fluffy for me. So that is what we want to avoid, right? If we continue to have that data-driven, good kind of experience, what do? Well, when we meet our peers, our colleagues, we share that website, that resource, right? Why do we share things on internet, on social media? We want to entertain. We want to build our social value. We want to seem to be in the know, knowledgeable, so we share what we feel is valuable for the colleague, peer, partner that we're having a lunch with, right? That word of mouth marketing is most likely the most valuable market asset you have today. 5 times more sales, 90% more likely to actually buy from a brand recommended by a friend. And I was touching on it just a little bit now. What we don't want is for that ideal desired persona to sit there and wonder, what are they now sending me? Because you have one chance, maybe 2 if he's really kind, to open your emails. Then you're just collecting, dust in his inbox. Okay? So, a buyer persona becomes your focal point for everything that you do. And most marketing-related questions can be answered by what is best for our buyer persona. Should we go to that event? Should we produce this print material? Should we do this banner campaign? Should we produce this white paper? Should we do what is best for the buyer persona? Okay? And now we're going to look at 2 short films. And I want you to think about, who do you think these companies are targeting? Okay?
I start my days, sun rays. I tap the phone, coffee's on. I mow the lawn, impressing Sean. So connected, so effective. I let it drop, clean it up. Heat and smart, I do my part. Get in the car. Superstar, they're watching me. IoT, 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 IoT. I check my stock. What a shock. Buy some prawn. My oven's on. Coming home. Future zone. All for me. IoT, 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 IoT. Live like a Bosch, with many connectivity solutions for a smarter future. From Bosch.
Who is the buyer persona? Sorry?
First-time house owners?
Yes, I would have loved to have that was it vacuum cleaning thing that just takes care of my eggs I'm dropping. Yeah? More ideas? The gadget guys. Yeah. Then, yeah.
This picture on the mailbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
We knew what we were getting right then.
Yeah. No, I agree. The gadget guy, I mean, I love this. Targets sort of the nerd in us, the guy who wants to have all the gadgets, but he's cool, right? I mean, he's cool. And this is a German company doing this. I'm not, stereotyping a bit again, maybe. It's a German company doing this, okay? Next film. And
it's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream, to the seat with the clearest view, and she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a sad thing for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools if they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the low man beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show. Is their life on Mars?
Who's the buyer persona? Good question. I would say it's two. Yeah, yeah.
Moms and dads.
Sorry?
I saw moms and dads.
Yeah, and their children. Yeah. Did you know that Elon Musk wants us to have a space station on Mars 2029? 2023 they will send the BFR, the big fucking rocket, up in space. Okay, so two buyer personas. Would you like to be part of that team that's all like, yes, when the two rockets land? Right? The nerds, the future, the people in the universities. Where do they want to go? The really brilliant ones. They want to be part of that, right? But it's also a move about the future. What can we do with humanity? So, the children. Merle talked about shared meaning. She talked about emotional connection, right? And if you manage to create that shared meaning, they started saying that you're willing to pay 25% more of a product just by feeling that connection. So, creating a buyer persona, having that as the main character in the stories that you build based on Marilee's presentation, on her advice, will help you get to that sort of narrow focus where you can target and really build emotion because you understand who you're talking to. Okay? So how do we build buyer personas? How are we, the team, going to the team, achieve our goals, the team? Marketing has almost always been had the responsibility to create marketing materials, right? Today, that's not enough. Marketing cannot handle this alone. It has to be cross-functional collaboration between multiple teams. Sales, marketing, the specialists, if the scientists, legal, IT. It has to be a cross-functional collaboration. You need to have some kind of framework. This is the framework that we work from. You ask questions like, what is their job role? That's their professional role. But their role in life, what's their title? How is their job role measured? What does a typical day look like? What knowledge and tools do they require? Who do they report to? Who reports to them? What does it mean to be successful in their role? What happened that day when they were sitting in their BMW, I can't say it in English, like 10 centimeters above the seat, just completely elated by something that happened. What happened that day? How do they learn about new things? what's their watering holes, what their pain points, what motivates them, but also build this into a real person. Age, family, or married, children, education, live, income, vacation. What do they do, right? And how do they prefer to interact with you? So this is an example of a buyer persona. One of the worst cases I've seen when I came to companies saying, we don't want to do this buyer persona stuff because we did that with another agency, so we're done, was that they had, what do you call it, an illustration, like a cartoon figure there, instead of a face. And he was between 30 and 50 years old. What you want to do is you want to get to, this is CEO Karsten, he's a Danish CEO of a small-sized company, 43 employees, 52 years old, and you talk about who he is. Short. But then you also have more information like this. What he does, pain points, motivations, and so on and so forth. Okay? So if you give this to a writer, to a film producer, to someone, they know who they are actually talking to. Then what you do is you test and you verify. The interactions you get on your website, the feedback you get, does that match? Does the people that give you that feedback, does that match your buyer persona? Or are you creating the correct kind of content? Revisit this buyer persona once per year. Has that ideal desired customer changed based on your business goals, brand plans? And then keep that alive. Keep that in your brand, marketing meetings. Have that person, would this be good for the buyer persona? Because that is your ideal defined customer that you should target, because that's where you will build most of your business. Okay, so together with MR Retainer, we build 5 buyer personas. Logistics Larry, Linda the QA, Forwarder Fred, Airline Ann, Nigel the Procurer. We did that. We started that 2 years ago, and then we have begun creating different types of content based on these. And I would like to say, do you remember the film that Matthias showed you in the beginning about it could be you, it could be me? It was an emotional film. Every time I see it, I actually feel like, wow, this is super important.
Actually, helped me create it as well.
Our team did, yes. Thank you, Matthias. Yeah. So, the buyer persona is so super important. That homework you need to do if you haven't done that already, and you need to have a multidimensional, super described, well-described buyer persona, or multiple, like in the MR Retainer's case, 5 of them. Okay? The content strategy then. Content strategy for the future. First of all, content is king. Without content, you don't communicate. We're going to focus on website content, articles, written content. And if you consider content being what nurtures web leads, from strangers, visitors, to leads, customers, promoters, that's content in different kinds of formats, right? And we talk about 3 different stages when you create content. The awareness stage, the consideration stage, and the decision stage. The awareness stage is when someone has begun to understand that they have a problem or an opportunity. They can't really put words on what it is, so they rely on Google. Just typing different kinds of questions in to be able to sort of narrow down that pain point or opportunity. But then in the consideration stage, they have been able to name that, and they are beginning to look at different types of solutions. So, an example for awareness stage, I just moved to a new house, and now I need to get my kids to the school. The consideration stage is I could walk with them, I could drive them in a car, a bus, a motorcycle, bicycle. There's different kinds of solutions for me to bring my kids to school. We realized that with the work hours we have, the car option is the best. In the decision stage, now we need to look at cars. Okay? Different kinds of content and editorial content like blog posts, social media content, podcasts, videos, press releases. What you see at the bottom there is what we call premium content, something that your potential customers are willing to change their contact information to get. Here you have product type comparisons, like different kinds of ways to get your kids to school. Free webinars, infographics, and here it's product literature, like specs, benefits, product comparisons, vendor comparisons, case studies, reviews, testimonials, this versus that. Why would I want to spend money with you? This is the place where you build trust. And one thing to help you even more is words, like troubleshoot, issue, resolve, risk, upgrade, improve, optimize, prevent. That's words that you can put in headline and focus in awareness stage content. Consideration stage, solution provider, service supplier, tool, device, software. And in the decision stage, compare versus pros and cons, benchmark, review, and test. You can see the difference here, right? That this is awareness stage is very, very broad. But it's very broad with one focal point. And then it's moving closer and closer to your product. And as I said before, marketeers are no longer solely responsible for good marketing. It is that team effort, because a marketeer usually sits at the office. Some companies manage to have their marketeers, tag along with sales reps to meet customers. Most often they don't have time to do that, so they rely on the input that they get from the sales team, but also from their specialists, their scientists that knows about the area in which you operate. So it needs to be a collaborative effort. We talked about marketing and sales in a sales funnel before that leads to customers, but today we talk more about the importance, as I said before, of word of mouth. What happens when someone is talking about you? Well, the marketing was good, the sales was good, but also the service was good. The service then leads into becoming good marketing. That leads into sales. So today we talk more about the flywheel than a sales funnel, because it is so interconnected, these three areas. So if we look at this, customer in the middle, marketing, sales, service, the tract phase, the engage phase, the delight phase. The delight phase goes over sales and service. The engage phase is marketing and sales. And you can see, top right, prospects becoming customers, becoming promoters, becoming strangers. So it all ties together. So it's equally important not just to create good marketing material and sales material, but your service department, your support staff, and the content you create there is also an opportunity, just not for providing good value to your clients, but also in terms of search engine optimization. Content you put out as frequent asked questions are also searched on. Okay. To put this in perspective, over a year, over 6 months, you have different kinds of campaigns that you work from your business plan to your brand plan to what you want to talk about in terms of campaigns. You focus on one of them and you begin to create content. You have a live event, you have invitations via iPad sales reps, emails. So you begin to focus on 3 or 4 periods of time, events, and you do that really, really well. And you have your ideal desired customer as your focus all the time when you brainstorm. It's not rare that I bring coffee, cookies, sometimes even energy drinks, to these brainstorm sessions because they are fun, but they're kind of brain exhausting as well. When you do this, what you want to focus on is what they are interested in. 99% what they're interested in, and then sprinkle in a little of what you want to say. That's where you have your sweet spot of content. And just to show you a real example of that is not that difficult is an Excel sheet. You put up column A, awareness stage, column B, consideration phase, column C, decision stage, and then you begin to brainstorm. Just do brain dump first, and then you prioritize after you've done that, okay? When you get to the point that you're going to have this on your website, the percentage between the 3 different stages are 60% should be awareness stage content, because that is the top of the funnel. That's where people are searching. 30% should be consideration, and just 10% should be where you talk about your product. Try to sell that to a sales team. It's hard. Always mimic the language that your buyer persona use, because we talk about content that needs to be found. How will it be found? Well, it will be found through keywords. If I would ask you when Bruce Springsteen was born, you have 10 seconds, what would you do? Right? We are so hardwired to do that. The last 5-6 years, we've become more and more so, and we search, and he became 70 the 23rd of September last year. So he's 70 years old, still going strong. When you look at keywords, when you look at content, you always consider search intent. Why are they searching on the keywords that you think they might be searching on? What's the buzzwords? What's the trends? What is the topics on international congresses? You need to look at different types of sources to collect that big list of content topic ideas that you then can prioritize from. So it's a stepwise approach. You notice that, right? It's a very logical stepwise approach. It's a journey where you start with the buyer persona and then continue building. Don't underestimate the importance of creating content based on data. So when you have that keyword list, put that keyword list into a tool like Keyword Finder. I can highly recommend that. What you get there is topic-related keywords. So, Mangools here, you can see 1,900 searches on average per month. You have Rich Snippets, Keyword Finder, SEO ebook. You have topic-related keywords as suggestions. So you can build that list that you then prioritize as well. When you do that, when you get that long list from this, because you have a short list and you build a long list, you can begin to see that you have different topic clusters. Now we're getting really into really into technical stuff, right? If you build your website based on topic clusters like this, you have an article in the middle, workout routines, that you then support with other workout routines types of articles. This will increase your results with Google. Okay? But since this is not an SEO presentation, I want to take you that route. It really isn't. You take what you've produced to this point and you put it into an editorial calendar. This is a demo, but you take it into an editorial calendar that you then give to your content producers. And then starts the wheel. Create a content schedule, number 2. Produce tailored content, number 3. Test and track performance, that's where most people drop off the wagon. Prepare marketing report. Adjust strategy. Set goals and objectives, then create a new content schedule. And then you do that. You revisit your keyword list twice per year. You revisit your buyer persona once per year. And when you are producing content, relevant, data-driven content, never forget that the 20-80 rule applies, where 20% is creating and 80% is promoting. Because most often you put up an article on your website, and then nothing, or not much happens, right? So I want to leave you with one. This is the best example of promotion I've seen. And we had the jab, jab, right hook, Gary Vaynerchuk. On SlideShare, he has his Gary V content model, how he made 30 pieces of content from one single keynote that in total generated over 30 million views from one keynote. So look that up, look at some of the books, all of them are good. And just to quickly recap, here they are again. If you want to take a picture, really think about who your ideal desired customer is. Use that as a focal point for everything you do. Dare to leave parts of your target audience, your market segments, just for a short period of time, 6, 8, 9, 12 months. Dare to focus and go narrow to be able to create that shared meaning that's so important. And never forget that it's not you as marketeers that does that. It's a collaborative effort. Marketeers are no longer solely responsible for marketing. Content is king. And try to convey to the salespeople that they aren't allowed to talk product in the awareness stage. Okay, we passed that. This is actually the best image. I use it every time, all the time, because it's so hard to, we're so ingrained in what we want to say, features, benefits. What they want to say, based on data, get to this 80-20, the content creation cycle, and remember to promote. Okay? That was my buyer persona and content presentation. As Marilee said, we will have that working session talking afterwards. So I'll be here and we can talk more about how to do this in real life if you have any questions. Okay, thank you very much. Now it's lunch.
Thank you, Fredrik. We went through this process maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it's a lot of effort in the beginning, and you've been part of the workshops. It's so much easier once you're done with that, because you have your persona that you're writing for and that you target and that you tweak towards. So I found it extremely valuable, and actually going to take another round about the personas. So
Interesting. We need to talk more about that. Yeah, yeah, because it's a hill you need to cross over. When you have that list, most companies, when I get the call, they are struggling to find their next social media post. They're struggling to find their next blog article. They are sort of so behind. But if you do this, and it can take as little as 6 to 8 weeks, then you have a digital machinery going that, you have an abundance of content that you can use and reuse. So it's not that hard. It's just, getting answers to the right questions along the way.
great.
I'll tell you more about it later. Yeah?